I watched the soccer team warm up last night, and at the end of their warm up, right before they take the field for the game, they do several sprints. So 4 or 5 sprints, just nice and short, probably 5 meter, maybe 10 meter sprints out to the coach. And every one they run, and then as they get to their coach, then they gradually slow down, and then they gradually walk back, either backpedal or just turn around and walk. And I see this a lot, both soccer, and I've also seen this with basketball coaches with their strength and conditioning coaches working out on the track or field during the off season. And it frustrates me because a lot of injuries happen on change of directions. And we spend a lot of time working on pure speed, but we don't use this sprints to also work on change of direction or stopping, which are important skills, probably even more so in basketball than soccer with the quick stops because of traveling violations. And so I think we miss these opportunities where we can incorporate change of direction training into either our off-season work or our pregame warm-ups. If you figure that these soccer players are probably playing 60 games per year, at least, and they're doing 5 or 6 sprints before each game, that's 300 to 400 opportunities to teach change of direction before a game. Multiply that also times the amount of times, let's say they do that at every practice session, and now you're getting a lot of repetitions in how to change directions. And that gives, it's not something that I would necessarily be teaching a lot before a game, but I would be reinforcing something that's been taught at practice. And it frustrates me because a lot of these teams then suffer injuries, and why do we have so many injuries? It's because we're not training these movements. We just expect players to be able to all of a sudden change directions without any instruction or without any drills that really focus on these movements. And so we train in straight line sprints, but then we play the game with lots of change of directions, lots of change of speeds. And these change of directions and change of speeds is typically where an injury is going to occur, and also where you have a greater opportunity to improve performance. So a soccer coach is only going to do so much for a player's straight line speed. Obviously it's possible to improve straight line speed, but unless you're a really competent track person that also coaches, soccer, or basketball, that's probably not your primary focus. And so you're probably going to have a better chance to improve their actual speed by improving their reactions to game stimulus or their game intelligence, or improving their change of direction. Because I know when I go out and initially work with basketball teams, the way most players change directions is very slow. And the easiest way to think about it is you put players on the line to run a suicide or a line drill or whatever you call it with your team, and they almost circle around. Let's say they're running to the free throw line, they almost run in a circle to loop back towards the baseline instead of making a hard change of direction. Other people will go and they take extra steps because they're trying to stop and they're not getting in a good position, so then they kind of have to hop and then they take an extra step, and these change of directions are very, very slow. And if you teach at the beginning of the year how to do a proper hockey stop, for instance, and then every time you run a suicide or a line drill or a 17 or something like that in practice, you remind them, encourage them, and instruct them to use these skills, then you're getting more and more and more practice throughout the season on a basic skill that transfers to the basketball game. And so then these punishments, which most of the time when we're running suicides in practice, it's as a punishment, then they have value, because it's not just about punishing the players and making them run and maybe getting a little bit of conditioning. Now it's also incorporating an element of skill development. So we're improving a skill while we're getting our punishment in or our conditioning or whatever the case may be. So again, sprinting is great. Players need to be fast, but deceleration and change of direction is as important, if not more important, than straight line speed. And these skills need to be incorporated and should be incorporated as much as possible, whether during practice or in pregame warm-ups.